Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second segment of the September 3rd Trips and Traps. Once again, I'm Andy Serling, flying solo this week. A reminder, of course, our next episode of Trips and Traps will be filmed on Wednesday, September 16th. Short week when we get back to Belmont next week. When we get back in the swing, at Belmont the second week, we'll do another episode, and we'll certainly cover some races from this last week at Saratoga. But right now, we're going to go back to some other races from the fifth week, Travers Week at Saratoga, and we're going to go to the Travers Day card. And the first race we're going to show you is a maiden 2-year-old race, won impressively by a Bob Baffert firster named Bulldogger. We're not going to worry about him. We'll be seeing that one in stakes in the future. That's number one. The horses that we want to look at are the horses who finished second. That's the number 6 horse, Our Dark Knight. But, of course, the one behind him who breaks slowly, and Our Dark Knight did not really break slowly, is Moonlark. Moonlark was a first-time star for Wayne Lucas. We're moving up and showing you Our Dark Knight again. Moonlark breaks a little slowly behind the pack, but I like this move that Moonlark shows. After breaking slowly, he very, very smoothly goes between horses and gets himself into a nice position sitting fourth down the backstretch. As he's made this move and expanded energy, Our Dark Knight, the first-time star for Nick Zito, has dropped back to the back of the pack. He'll do some running and some real running at the end of the race, and Our Dark Knight looks like he might be a nice horse, but everybody saw Our Dark Knight. People don't really see Moonlark, and I think Moonlark is the one that we might make some money with down the road. As you can see, after breaking slowly, he settled himself into a nice groove behind horses. He will end up making, and you'll see it around the turn, a very nice 4-wide move and gets himself very close to lead. I like to see this in a first-time starting 2-year-old. A horse that ultimately runs poorly in the race. He may have even finished last in this race, but he made the run. After breaking slowly, he rushed into position. Then he makes this run around the turn, a wide run, to get himself into contention. This horse clearly has some ability. The race didn't work out well for him. The winner of the race, the horse in front, is a Tiger. He wasn't beating him, and you see that Moonlark's already gotten close to even terms on the far outside in this race. Now, of course, Our Dark Knight has been lagging behind in the race, and he's towards the inside. The inside wasn't bad, I wouldn't say, on Travers Day, but it wasn't exactly the place you were dying to be. There was a lot of water down. There's water everywhere, but there was a lot of water down the inside. Now, Moonlark has conceded. He's finished. He's made his run. Our Dark Knight gets himself off the rail a little bit, gets outside of a few horses, about the 3 path now. He really starts to accelerate, and he showed a lot as a first-time starter to finish second here to the very impressive Bulldogger. Once again, Our Dark Knight, the next time he shows up, he's going to be a short price. He's probably going to win. He's actually a pretty good horse. But the thing is that Moonlark is not going to look that good off this race. He'll be a big price. And he's the kind of horse that we can make some money with next time. So Our Dark Knight, yes, I expect him to run well, but I'm not really worried about horses that are going to pay around $5 or less. Moonlark will be a bigger price. I want him to run at Belmont, and I think he has a big chance the next time he runs, wherever he runs. Now we're going to go on to actually, I think a couple of races later, maybe it was about the 11th race, I think, the King's Bishop, one of the most exciting races that we ran on Travers Day. And the horse that I want to talk about is the 2 Munnings, who was the favorite in this race and ended up finishing third in here. Now, first of all, Munnings has the inside post, but he really breaks very sharply from the gate. It always looks like they broke a little slow from the inside, but it's an illusion. In this case, Munnings broke extremely well. Now, as you're going to see, and as you know from watching the race, a very substantial pace duel developed. Make no mistake, the horse who finished first in this race, only to be justifiably disqualified, Vineyard Haven, ran the best race of anybody. No one will dispute that. But Munnings, you see how Munnings was towards the back of the pack, and he rushed up to be behind these horses. Now, I understand that he has natural speed, but he's basically a stalking closer. I'm not exactly sure what the hurry was to rush Munnings up and rush him up down on the inside in this race. He could easily have been sort of behind horses here, comfortably sitting a little bit ahead of where the eventual winner or second place finisher, but put up on the DQ, Captain Candyman, and we see moving on the outside here, see where he was. But instead, he rushed up, and I thought it expended some energy needlessly, and then dropped back a little bit in the turn. He's down on the inside. He's in a little bit tight, nothing that really hurt him a little bit. But the field moves out, and he's the only one right down on the rail. And I know that you would rather save ground in some situations and swing wide, but this was a situation where I think if he had dropped back a little bit more early and not been in such a hurry to get up in the position he was in and gotten himself a little bit off the rail, getting the clear sailing that Captain Candyman had, I think it would have benefited more. Do I think he was the best horse in the race? No. Do I think he should have won the race? Not sure. He did lose by a good 3 to 4 lengths in there. But I think that the way he was ridden and the trip that he got overall probably didn't benefit him. A little bit more patience. And look, it's easy to sit here and say in hindsight, the rider should have done this, the rider should have done that. It's very easy to do that. This is looking back on the race and saying, could he have run better? And yes, he could have. Would it have taken a perfect ride that's easy to see afterwards? Absolutely. Not trying to be unfair here, but just trying to point out that the next time we see Munnings, which will probably be in the Vosburg in early October at Belmont, he ran better than it looks like he ran the King's Bishop. And for my money, besides Fabulous Strike, who will probably be in there, he may be one of the best sprinters in the country. I think he's ready to give Fabulous Strike a bigger fight than a lot of people might think, and I'm looking very forward to the Vosburg. And Munnings is a horse that, at least on the dirt, is a very, very good sprinter and a little bit better than he showed in the slop in the King's Bishop. We've got one last race to show you, and this is a turf race, and it's a turf race from Monday's card. And it was a bunch of 2-year-old New York breds, and the horse that wins the race is the one, Mr. Vegas. You're going to see him break slowly in here. Mr. Vegas was extraordinarily impressive, and a lot of times we lose sight of how well a winner runs because he wins the race. The other horse I want to show you is Shrimp Dancer, who ran third. Shrimp Dancer should have won this race, even though I think ultimately you might argue that Mr. Vegas was best and is the best horse coming out of it, because you watch, he's impressive. But Shrimp Dancer could have won this race with a slightly different ride, I think. The first thing that happens is 4 horses, including Shrimp Dancer, go for the lead. But because Shrimp Dancer had the outside post, he could have attempted to raid a little bit off there and drop back outside the 4. Unfortunately, this never happens, and he gets involved basically in this pace. I mean, he's about a length off, but instead of settling, the rider's asking him right now, and he's asking him to go 4 wide in the teeth of a very hot pace that actually ended up completely collapsing. And Shrimp Dancer runs far and away the best race of any of the speeds. Now, we've lost sight of Mr. Vegas. There he is. He's on the inside, back at about last in the picture. And he's in extensive traffic trouble after braking slowly. But remember that Shrimp Dancer is doing a ton of hard work while fighting it out 4 wide around the racetrack here. And he'll eventually clear off and only loses the race by a couple of lengths here. Mr. Vegas bottled up behind horses, nowhere to go. The rider's just waiting for a seam. He still can't find it behind horses with that green cap, the white silks. Shrimp Dancer's actually on the outside, making the lead here, fighting it out the whole way. The horse who sat the perfect trip, 5th behind him, the 4, I want no part of that horse in the future because he had the dream trip. Mr. Vegas finally finds that seam and comes absolutely bursting through and wins in hand for the rider. He was impressive with a very impressive burst of speed. But all things considered, Shrimp Dancer tucks off of that duel. Impressive as Mr. Vegas I'm not sure that he would have beaten Shrimp Dancer in this race. And Shrimp Dancer is not going to be a big price the next time he runs, but he is going to probably win in all likelihood because he's a very nice horse and he ran a very nice race here. Anyway, that does it for this week's Trips and Traps. Once again, the last Trips and Traps, sadly, will be filming in Saratoga in 2009. We'll see you back on September 16th with our next episode. That email address, tripsandtraps@nairainc.com. Keep the emails coming. We appreciate getting them. Try to show some races. Certainly try to respond to you. And we, of course, appreciate your watching. Goodbye, Saratoga.